You're listening to the Oneofus.net podcast network. Oh my God, guys. Twin Peaks, these last two episodes, holy shit. We've gotten both probably the most conventional episode of the series and by far the most unconventional episode of the series. Totally dividing the line as to how big a Twin Peaks fan you actually are.
Most unconventional episode of television.
Yes, that's probably true.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's no Frenchman on acid that's ever come close to making anything like last night.
And it's not even a Twin Peaks fan or not. It's, are you a David Lynch fan or are you just a Twin Peaks fan?
That is considerably more accurate.
You'd be like, oh, what I watch? I want the pie and I want the coffee and the weirdness. I'm like, cool, but that was 25 years ago. Now we've got, let's get into what happened and we'll talk about it.
That's Scott, who was just talking, by the way, and then Betty, right before him, who are joining us, who've been on all of these. And filling in for Ian this week is our friend Johnny Neill, who is as big as a Twin Peaks fan as you could hope to find.
I got my latest Christabel autographed CD in the mail just this afternoon.
I saw that. So let's get started. We're going to, of course, as we have before, start with one episode at a time, start with episode 7, where we read off the often poorly written Wikipedia description of the episode, and then we get into it, which I even had to add something. I was like, why did they leave this out with Jerry and Ben Horn on the phone in the beginning, where Jerry calls his brother saying, I think I'm high!
That was hysterical.
But that's not the most important thing he said. And I think it gets glossed over. What did he say? You said this before. You said this, or he said something like you said the same thing before, thinking it's like he's in a loop or something.
Right. He could be.
Which kind of implies that, but then he lost his car.
It's like, this is the really, really real world.
The loop would have been if he would have said, Warriors! Sorry.
All right, so the description goes like this. Hawk and Frank Truman examine the pages torn from Laura's diary. One entry describes a dream in which Annie tells Laura that the Gooddales trapped in the lodge. Frank calls Doc Hayward, R.I.P. Warren Frost, Mark Frost, the co-creator's father.
And it was Father's Day.
Father's Day. It's very true.
Oh, snap,
who recounts his memories of the day Cooper returned from the lodge. Lieutenant Knox arrives in Buckhorn from the Pentagon and is stunned to learn that Garland Briggs's fingerprints come from a body in its late 40s. Garland would have to be in his 70s if he died recently. Albert and Gordon convince Diane to speak to Cooper in prison. She's upset by the conversation and tells Gordon the man is not Cooper. Andy arranges to meet the farmer who owns the truck driven by Richard Horne in the hit and run, but he never arrives. Cooper's doppelganger blackmails Warden Murphy into releasing him and Ray. Police visit Cooper at Dougie's workplace to question him about Dougie's destroyed car. As he leaves with Janie E., Ike runs at them with a gun, but Cooper expertly disarms him as the man from another place appears, urging him to squeeze his hand off. Technically, the man from the other place is very confusing because in the notes I've seen, some people refer to Mike as the man from the other place, and other things say, no, Mike is not the man from another place. His arm is the man from another place that he cut off.
And in the old show, he was always called the man from your place in the credits.
They seem to be like creating a division now, like at least in the fandom. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, Mike is just Mike.
Depends on who you ask. Because the thing we see talking to him is the arm. They've said that's the arm, which was the midget, right?
Yeah.
So that's not Mike. It's his arm that he cut off, which I would imagine would be evil, because that's why he cut it off. Anyway, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Beverly, Ashley Judd reappearing, which I was glad to see, tries to locate the source of a mysterious hum in Ben Horne's office, then returns home to her terminally ill husband, Tom. The tagline was, "There's a body, all right," spoken by Detective Dave Maclay to Lieutenant Cynthia Knox when she asked where Garland Briggs's fingerprints were found. All right, let's get into it, guys. A lot to say and unpack in this one for sure. I think one of the biggest ones was the reveal from Doc Hayward about what Mr. C, the evil doppelganger, was doing after he got out of the got out of the Black Lodge at the end of the show, the original show, that he went to Audrey Horne's hospital room while she was in a coma, which certainly causes speculation. Jesus Christ, did he rape her while she was in a coma, which is who Richard Horne is?
I have had many arguments with people like, there's no way that's what she was talking about. There's no way he raped Diane or Audrey. I'm like, That's clearly what happened. Like it seems like super obvious. Like that's his MO. Bob was a rapist. He was a pig. He was a monster. That's what he does.
Yeah, but I can't commit to anything like clear.
No. We're just speculating.
Yeah, I mean, I can say, well, that would add up, but there's no way I'm going to go, oh yeah, I'm putting this puzzle together.
Well,
I don't want to put it together. No. I want it to be, because anytime I have a theory, he's so much better at it than I am. It's like, okay, David, you're just you.
I guess for me, half the fun is that it's the ultimate water cooler discussion. I mean, I haven't felt this since the X-Files or Lost, where all of these people who are so into it get together and they really just like interact, and you get to meet new people and you get so into deep thinking about stuff. I find it actually a psychological exercise that's fascinating and fun.
And isn't it cool that it wasn't a big Netflix dump?
Yeah, very true.
It's a weekly
one episode at a time.
It wouldn't have worked.
It would have been like, okay, nobody sleeps, everybody's eating Viagra.
You wouldn't also get all the detail and all the intricacy of what's going on every episode. You would just get lost. I think I think the whole point of doing this way is actually, in addition to being a show about Twin Peaks and the people, and I've mentioned this before, it's like and some people argue it's not, it's like a meta discussion about binging and television watching and consumer habits and entertainment and what is art. And it seems like every week more and more you're like, man, we're doing it wrong. He's bringing it back to what it used to be. And you realize how different and how much better it is this way.
The value of weekly episodic television.
Yeah, especially it builds the fan base stronger, I think.
But it is still not a TV series. I mean, when he says it's an 18-hour movie, it really is. I mean, there's no...
He released a statement saying, look, this is an 18-hour movie, and the best way to watch it is very close to the screen with the lights off and your headphones on, played very loud.
As close as possible.
Yeah, which I've actually changed now, where I'm now watching it on my laptop, like in my bedroom with the lights off and headphones on, rather than watching on my TV based on his suggestion. And it is so much more intense that way.
Well, something I've found that's cool is to rewatch episodes out of order.
Yeah.
Like, just watch a couple of them random, and you just dig in. I mean, I can't come up with any proper examples, but they have a whole different thing with no before and after context, because there's already so little of that anyway that, you're familiar with it because you've seen it, but you're not trying to connect the dots to the next episode. You're just connecting the dots within that hour. And it's working really fun for me,
And it's so nonlinear as it is anyway. I mean, we're jumping ahead to episode 8. I mean, there are references to things that happen in times that just doesn't make any sense at all. Like, time doesn't seem to exist. And it's like, I'll jump to 8 where, Laura Palmer's in a little globular in a fortress under a nuclear bomb or whatever that was. And that's 1945, but not really. And time doesn't matter. And it's like, it reminds me a lot. It's reminding me more and more of Lost Highway. It feels more and more like Lost Highway than anything else.
Something that I really enjoyed in episode 7 was Ashley Judd saying, "Who's Laura Palmer?"
Yeah,
everybody's life has gone on. Well, who's Agent Cooper? Oh, he was here investigating the murder of Laura Palmer.
Because
who's Laura Palmer? And it's like, she's a grown woman.
But she's new to town,
right?
And even though it's an old school town story, everyone's moved on except for those who were deeply involved in it, Sure. And it's interesting to watch this character who's so removed from everything and yet now being sucked in. I do have to ask about that sequence. Do you think that whole thing had anything to do with Josie Packard? Because if you remember, she had that whole thing about, where the weirdest thing that ever happened on the original show, if you ask me, where suddenly she's in a doorknob. She's sucked into wood. And that's not the first thing we have with wood having the possession of a soul. Obviously, the log lady, that her log may or may not have the spirit of her dead husband in it.
It very well could, or it could just be channeling all the other stuff that's going on, But I was delighted with that whole scene. And, it was almost like find the smell, no, it's coming from that corner over there. And there was something about Ben Horne being an old man, there was a certain wistfulness to him, 20 years ago, I would have been hitting all over you. And instead, it's like, she was flirty, kind of, because she's Ashley Judd, she can't help herself, And he was just he kind of had a very fatherly kind of vibe there.
His attitude
which was nice, because,
we also know, though, that Ben Horne is a total horn dog. So
or at least he used to be.
No pun intended.
I think a lot, think that the murder of Laura Palmer threw everybody around, and then Audrey's situation, with the blowing up in the bank and all
might
that.
have changed everything for him.
I think that slowed everything.
Once again, we don't know enough to say.
We don't.
For all we know, the prostitutes that Jacques Renault's brother was talking about on the phone in the extensive sweeping scene, could have been.
Never happened.
He could have been talking to Ben Horn for all we know.
That's true.
He's definitely dealt with the Renault brothers before for prostitutes.
Speaking of. Has anybody read The Secret History of Twin Peaks?
Yeah.
I'm listening to
Not
it
me,
on,
but those guys.
Disc right now. That's not the kind of book I could read, thumb through it, but to actually listen to it, and oh my God, there's so much fun in it,
and it's so tied to the show.
Oh, completely.
It's insane.
But especially
there are a lot of little loose ends,
yes.
Hank got killed in prison. Okay, we don't have to worry, he's not coming up. We don't have to worry. And then before he died, he confessed to throwing the state championship football game.
Something could come back.
That's just so funny.
And apparently they're doing another book afterwards, the final dossier.
I just hope it keeps making them.
I just don't stop. Don't use the word final.
Yeah, don't use the final.
I know.
The next, but it is called the final.
But the cool thing is that they're fun accessory reading, but they're not necessary. There's no it's like the diary or the Dale Cooper tape.
Or the missing pieces.
Yeah, they're
great.
They're all really fun, but they're not absolutely essential to watch to enjoy.
But he definitely he dives into them though a lot in the series. He's really reaching into them a lot.
I mean, I think like in a way though that helps for fans like us to predict and contextualize more than it is essential for the understanding of what's actually happening.
I feel like he's making the show because people like Twin Peaks, but I think the division between Twin Peaks fans and David Lynch fans, he's making it for hardcore people who love.
No question.
20,000 people. Everyone else, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
and that's awesome. And more than anything, he's making it for himself, which is super
good.
Which is so cool. Like
I was going to make a joke about Oliver Stone doing it for Wild Palms, but nobody wants that. So
isn't it funny when you start running a little inventory of all the shit shows that were ripped off of the whole idea?
The only one
how many have been forgotten?
The only one that really stood up at all turned into a totally different type of show, which was Northern Exposure. When it started, it had a very kind of Twin Peaksy vibe, and then it just kind of abandoned that and turned. Okay, we're weird, but we're not Twin Peaks weird.
Yeah.
It
was definitely Stranger in a Very Strange Land.
Yeah.
Where nobody knows how strange it is.
Washington. I thought it was normal.
Right.
I was going, why does everyone think this show's so weird? This is normal. And I was like, I guess this isn't too normal.
And it's a show where you look back and you're like, I love Twin Peaks. No, the thing is, you loved 8 episodes of the show in the finale. That's about it, because the second season is, and I'll defend this, I'm dead, is not great. I mean, it's really not great. There's some good stuff, but on a whole, it's not a great show.
There's a lot of stuff I doubt from the second season will ever, even stuff integral to the whole story, I doubt we'll even see reference, like Wyndham Earl, which apparently Lynch did not care for at all.
No, he hated the whole plot. That's why he killed him. He's like, nope, pull your head off, sorry. And that's awesome, but the thing is, you had to have that terrible second season to get to where that was, to get where we are now, because you have to do all that. You had to do it.
Well, and it's really indicative of the difference between TV in 1990 and TV now.
Oh, it's a different world.
It's a whole different monster.
I was thinking about that in the way that niche groups and their knowledge that there is entertainment out there for them have expanded so drastically in every single corner that now we can economically support a show like this new Twin Peaks. They're no, it's absolutely not for everyone. It's for a niche group of people. But that niche group turned out to be pretty fucking big.
Well, it's a niche group that's global too. That's
and I think with the internet it helped, because if we didn't have that means of communication, the networks would be taking gambles based on what they know, and now they get to hear what we want. And boy, are the Twin Peaks, we're loud. We're very vocal.
We can be a little loud.
We want to be involved in it.
But you hear the people complain, the ratings are terrible, this and that. But
I don't
at the same time,
pay attention to that.
No, but I'm obsessed about this stuff, I know. It's sad, but the ratings aren't bad because the show had 20 million viewers, but that was 1990 television. That was a very different thing. You had 20 channels and you didn't have multiple options. Now you
20
people who are paying, not even 13. I mean, and you had people paying for Showtime to watch it online or Hulu. Who knows how much you can't even measure it, and they're not watching it that day anymore. They're watching it the next day. Or
major hits on TV now and the numbers involved, you cannot compare them to pre like streaming services, pre-DVR numbers, because are pre-giant cable options. Because I mean, nothing is as big as say I Love Lucy or something. You know, everybody was watching it.
It never will be, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's a different gauge. All right, so we need to get back into the nitty gritty, talking about Diane, who first off potty mouth Diane. Jeez,
I didn't know she was gonna. Well, maybe she got kind of. Over the 25 years, got kind of, but he said she was always a tough cookie.
Yeah.
So I just imagined she was a little bit more subdued when he was talking to the recorder, but I'm glad she's kind of feisty.
I always imagined her to be older. You know, I always imagined the James Bond Moneypenny.
I actually kind of did too, but we never really knew.
No, not at all. That's all your own projection.
In his tapes, it kind of refers to her as being younger and she was in her 20s at that point. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But you know, when we actually see her talking to Mr. C and start to realize. The last time they met, something really bad went down. Like, now you start to really understand why she's like, fuck off and leave me alone.
Yeah.
Having no idea up until this point that maybe that wasn't Dale after all. Yeah. That only with the time of experience.
She never was nothing otherwise. She knew nothing about this stuff.
Exactly. And it also adds to the whole speculation of what was going on with Audrey Horne. It's like, wow, like when you put in the same episode speculation that maybe he did something horrible to her, to Diane as well, you're like, okay, that's what makes me think that maybe the Audrey Horne thing is a real thing.
It makes sense because Bob feeds on pain and suffering. And for Bob to attack people that adored
Yeah.
And who would do it more than Audrey and Diane?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Put him on a pedestal.
I kind of. I mean, that is one charming dude. You know? And I am so blown away by how. I mean, I always felt like Kyle MacLachlan was a perfectly good actor in certain roles. Now I'm like, oh, that guy's just like, how have people not realized how brilliant of an actor
they do will after this. I have a feeling his part
for this in Portlandia.
Like next level.
Yeah.
God.
It's pretty good.
Once again though, great choice for Diane, I think, with Laura Dern. It just nailed it.
Yeah.
Really did.
And it really helps with the David Lynch universe. You know, it's really hard to separate David Lynch from the show in that sense. You know, the rest of the David Lynch universe from the show.
And
the affection he has for Diane and where you see talking to her, like I love that. Like the way he something bad happened, she's like, can't talk about it now, and just he's so clearly.
Like really, almost a father figure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not creepy. And because someone made a comment about him being kind of creepy, but in another episode where he made comments, which I've never thought that, but
I didn't pick up creepy.
He's made comments like, oh, attractive women, this and that. He's older. It's like, oh, whatever. But he's more like an endearing uncle or father.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't come across as creepy so much as like a little man out of its time a little bit, you know, which I mean, the man has a picture of the nuclear explosion at White Sands on his wall.
Franz Kafka.
Franz Kafka and Korn. Which are like his whole office is a portrait of like what's happening here as we learn more in episode 8. Also, someone pointed out when he was whistling, that was like a Rammstein song?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it.
Angel,
Interesting. Which is nuts. It's like, because apparently he's a huge Rammstein fan. Yeah. He's put in a couple of movies and he's
I know it was in Lost Highway. As well, first time anyone actually said in the new show, damn good coffee.
You're right, in her apartment. But there's no smoke sparring allowed.
So when the new agent comes in to examine Major Briggs's body, interesting, which didn't really strike me as that big a deal till episode 8, was watching the bum walking behind him, which looks like one of the...
That was an It Follows moment.
Looks like a total... like another one of the woodsmen, presumably.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's the woodsman.
And you kind of got a feeling that the other people didn't even see him.
Yeah.
It's the same guy that was in the jail cell. The same actor.
And that's not the same actor, though, that's the primary one in episode 8, though, I don't think. Not. Yeah, that, by the way, interesting about that guy is a Abraham Lincoln impersonator professionally. He has a whole website that's about nothing but how great he is at playing Abraham Lincoln and how you can contact him to come play Abraham Lincoln.
And hence why Lynch found him.
That's it.
Isn't he obsessed with Lincoln as well?
And at www.fuckyoudanieldaylewis.com.
Oh my God.
That's hysterical.
Oh no.
We do see Mr. C and Ray being released from prison. That whole conversation. I don't even want to know what the dog legs clue is supposed to be.
And I hope they never get into it because I don't really want to know what happened with the dog legs.
It feels like one of those little mysteries that there's no real reason to go back and explain, despite the explicit naming of characters like Joe McCluskey and Mr. Strawberry.
Well,
it
the whole
feels
thing though with the
Mr.
phone when he got his phone call and he entered the numbers and everything went insane.
Yeah.
They're like, who did he call? And then the cow jumped over the moon. I mean, so what's going on there with the prison and the?
Well, I mean, he obviously has something.
Cowboy moment.
He has something for real over that warden. The warden's like, fuck that.
What's real happened to Mr. Late Strawberry? I think he knows what this warden did.
Yeah.
What's real funny is that you can't help but go, well, the prison warden's got shit to hide, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
I think maybe what's freaked him out is that the warden's never told anyone, and Bad Coop, Mr. C, psychically read the evil things he committed. And that's why his face looked like that. Like, I didn't tell anyone about Mr. Strawberry. That kind of picked it up like, how the fuck does this guy know? It's in
I didn't even think about
minds.
that.
I assumed it was something.
All of your sins.
I assumed it was something along those lines. That he's like, I mean, he's got Bob in him, you know. As well, weird going back to the Gordon Cole. I laughed out loud when he counts on Laura's fingers. I'm very happy to see you again, old friend. Going, oh yeah, the ring finger is the spiritual mound, so therefore, I was like, I don't know, man. I mean, that does seem like a bit of a stretch to me.
I like that. Just show me your hands, flip them over. You know, it's just.
Think about that, Tammy. Yeah, it was so. And she has such a. Her reaction is just. It's like a very subtle. She doesn't look shocked or anything. She's just like, okay.
That's how she is too in person. She's very. Like he said, she's like an alien, a beautiful alien.
Yeah,
and she really is. She has this
very poised.
Really very poised.
I agree.
All right, so here's a thing I didn't notice at all. The place where Andy agrees to meet the farmer at Sparkwood and 21, that's the same intersection where Laura jumps off James's bike and ran into the woods the night she died. I was like, no, me neither. I had somebody else pointed that out. And also, I doubt this means anything, but the time they set up to meet was 4:30,
I think
which is
that's
like the Giants clue, 4:30.
Also, the Rolex.
The Rolex.
Yeah.
He's wearing a Rolex. It clearly, when you look at his watch, it's clearly a Rolex. Why does Andy have a Rolex?
You know, you could read into that, or you could say...
I think it's just making people like, I'm not into that. Like,
I mean...
Rolex for?
That's what we're here for, Johnny.
I know, but I think that's one of those, I'm not going to go, oh yeah, Andy's crooked. Why didn't he just haul the guy in or whatever, you know?
He might not be crooked, but you do notice that Andy acts ditzy around Lucy. And then all of a sudden, Andy's kind of
sharp and kind of aggressive.
And so maybe he's just being cutesy pie.
I like how in the book they said that his superpower was that everybody tells him all their gossip.
You're right.
That's his superpower. Right. People come to him and just tell him everything.
He has that kind of the fool, but he's not foolish.
Exactly.
There's something
he went to
innocent
UT as well.
him.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Huh.
What was that?
He went to UT.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, local boy.
Oh, cool.
So I want to real quick, Mr. C, that picture of his ritzy Rio house, which
that was awesome.
Albert going, a girl from Ipanema owns the place now.
That was fun.
Which I assume is just an Albert snarky joke, you know. But it made me laugh.
I love seeing him on there too.
And then I had that song stuck in my head for the rest of the night.
But that picture, first of all, who was taking that picture and why?
Yeah.
Well, it's like the picture that Tammy had of Coop was like a screenshot from the show. You know, it's like that's not a.
There's an explosion in the background. That would have been perfect. Yeah, it was Grand Theft.
It was pretty awesome.
As well, nice to see David Keschner making an appearance, weirdly as one of 3 detectives, all named Fusco.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was weird.
That
I don't know what that was.
Smiley Fusco. Eric Edelstein was Smiley Fusco.
Apparently, there's a comic strip called the Fusco Brothers or something, but I don't know if there's any connection to that at all. Maybe he's just a fan of it. I mean, clearly Lynch is throwing in a lot of weird connections that are either tributes or just he's a fan of stuff just for the fuck of it. And
Naomi Watts just killed that scene.
Holy shit!
Why didn't I call? What do you think? I just think about cars?
Yes,
you know, just that.
Right. There's too many cars. There's too many. What was that?
Like,
too many cars and too many people doing things.
They're like, okay, lady. Okay.
She's like kind of angry but hot housewife. You're like, she's hot.
Yeah,
she's kind of angry.
Coming in and just giving those guys the what for again. She's so good at like shutting alpha males down.
Yeah. At first she was described as being shrill, but like, no. I'm gonna kick everyone's ass because she's like, representing Doug. I love it.
And if you were married to Dougie, you'd be a little shrill too.
He tests
because Dougie, people don't like Dougie, and that's cool. I could watch Dougie forever.
But the old Dougie, who was a gambling addict and hooked up with hookers.
He wasn't that far off from where he is now.
He still seemed pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd party with Dougie.
I mean, really?
His arm went numb.
His arm went numb, like Laura's arm went numb.
But you didn't really get to see Dougie too much. He was like, just with Jade, and his arm went numb. I don't think we even heard him speak much.
He said like one thing, and the Dougie, he's like, let's limp. And then he says something when he goes into the other place, and he says something like, what am I doing here? He's like, you're now Glob, bye. He's like, okay, bye, Dougie.
It's so weird.
That conversation was
like acid Dougie.
That whole bit with Ike the Spike was awesome, though.
Oh my god, that was like legendary, out of nowhere, like,
he was
holy
like
shit.
A cobra.
Did not see that gonna happen right there. It's like, whoa, what the fuck did it happen so fast? You're like, wait, rewind. I gotta watch that again.
It was so it was so fast.
Question, okay, he's like, squeeze his hand off, which I was like, well, that's a weird thing to say. But then there was a big piece of his flesh on the gun they had to peel off. And I was like, did he have the gun glued to his hand?
Yeah, that's
some David Cronenberg shit right there.
Yeah.
The Vegas parking lot just baked so hot that when you put your hands on it.
And what was that weird collection of scenes afterwards, like the interviews of the people who were watching?
That was
so
great.
I was like, wow, this is bizarre. I loved it.
Show. And little girl, he smelled funny. I'm thinking scorched oil funny.
And that little girl was Laura Dern's little girl in Pretty or Big Little Lies or whatever.
Oh, really?
Oh, the one that was on HBO just recently.
Yeah, that was her daughter on there.
I kept waiting for that show to go like way weird, and I was like, "Come on!" Oh,
it's just another story.
It almost at that moment, I was like, "Damn it."
I love weird little connections like that. I know it's off topic, but I just heard today they said officially the little kid with the Iron Man mask on in the early Iron Man movie, they're going to make her, that was a young Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, that was Spider-Man seeing Iron Man for the first time in person. I thought that's so cute. I love it.
Something else that I find funny is how many comedians he casts in small parts. Like the woman who said, that's like a cobra. I can't think of her name. It's Melissa something. She's with Tig Notaro.
David Koechner, once again,
Koechner,
like obviously a big name.
Brett Gelman. He's not a comedian, but he's, primarily a funny actor.
You forgot to mention the scene with the weird with Truman's wife coming back, and then the other dickhead sergeant being like, "You're Jake Choltov. I don't care. He's a loser." Like that weird
Chad.
Oh.
And Chad was the one who took the bribe from Richard Horn.
Yeah,
Chad is such.
He is horrible.
Everybody hates Chad.
And that's a pretty big police department, by the way. Don't you think?
And also,
why did he get hired?
Let's go back to Truman for a second. We're talking to the doctor. That's a pretty sweet-ass monitorizer from the desk.
Dude, he's all James Bond in the 60s shit.
Everybody's a woodworker
up there. Did anyone think that was a David Lynch desk? Because if you
exactly.
And then I press this lever and the donut comes out. And then I have my paintbrush and I'm like, this is a great desk. This is amazing. And I'm thinking, I just want to watch like 8-hour podcast, or not podcast, but like live stream of David Lynch painting or eating the donut. And that's it.
Well, the Art Life, it's been released, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I asked for the Criterion version of it, which hopefully they'll send me.
That's coming out on Criterion?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
As well, oh God, what am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing. Oh yeah, I wanted to go just talking about the humming thing and the connection to the log lady. I got sucked into a research hole, and I was like, okay, some of the stuff that I saw there was pretty interesting, including her referencing that her husband is above the convenience store, which obviously is more, he was a woodsman, played by Jurgen Prochnow, when we saw him originally very briefly in a flashback in the original in Fire Walk With Me. Yeah. And she references how he was above the convenience store, which, as we also know, when Mike / the man from another place and Bob were serial killers together, they were doing it living above a convenience store, which one can only presume is the gas station / convenience store we saw in episode 8.
That's what I thought too.
Which also looks like it could have been Big Ed's gas farm before he built the sign.
It's weird. We haven't even seen Big Ed yet.
No, not yet.
But it was New Mexico, though.
I know. I'm just saying.
But yeah.
But what was it?
Yeah, no.
Right.
Was it in New Mexico? Was it at the same, like, the White Sands goes off and at 5:30 a.m. and it triggers 4:30 a.m. in the Pacific Northwest in Twin Peaks.
But he has a title. I mean, I say he has a title card, but I can't take that for granted because it's a title card. But he has 10 years later in '56, right. White Sands, New Mexico, and it's like, and it's like that town. So the implication is it's that town. But
yeah, it's true. Well, it does make it feel like it's close by, like it's affected directly by this blast, but maybe it's not directly.
Well, speaking of episode 8, let's just go into it. By the way, I thought this was funny. Showtime president David Nevins described this as the pure heroin version of David Lynch, which made me laugh.
I wish I could vote for that guy to be president rather than just Showtime.
All right, the Wikipedia description. Cooper's doppelganger demands information from Ray, but Ray shoots him. That's a simplified way of saying it. Ray sees transparent ghostly men gather around the body, tearing at it, revealing to Ray a sack with the face of Bob. He drives away and tells Philip Jeffries he believes the doppelganger is dead, but he survives. But on July 16, 1945, White Sands, New Mexico, the world's first atomic bomb is detonated. A convenience store is shown, and the dark men from before are seen. Golden and red imagery follows, and then the purple area from under the Black Lodge is a building. Inside is Senorita Dido, who listens to a phonograph. Question mark how he's credited, but the giant enters as a mechanism. Enters as a mechanism in the room, makes a noise. He ascends as a golden cloud forms above his head. Senorita Dido enters as a golden orb floats down to her from the cloud. It reaches her hands and the face of Laura Palmer appears. She kisses it and sends it to Earth. 11 years later, a creature hatches from an egg and crawls through the desert. A woodsman descends onto the ground with another dark man. The woodsman approaches a radio station and goes inside, killing the receptionist. He then goes to the disc jockey, grabs him tightly by the head, and repeatedly broadcasts the words, "This is the water and this is the well. Drink full and descend. The horses is the white of the eyes and dark within," which causes listeners to fall unconscious. Meanwhile, the creature reaches a girl's room and climbs into her mouth. So weird reading this so fast like this. The woodsman ends his broadcast, crushes the disc jockey's skull, and leaves. Tagline is, "Got a light?" Just remind me of thanks for the ride, lady.
Exactly. Right.
Oh,
that was very
light.
I'm just going to say that fucked me all up. Just a whole hour. I was up all night. My dog was whining next to me, like she vibed out that I was freaking out in my sleep. It just everything about it. Just and the notion of the subatomic evil being released by the most evil thing that mankind has ever done.
It was funny. All the people who I read who were saying, well, now that made no sense, so I give up. And I was like, I'm watching it, and immediately I'm glomming onto what I think he's doing, which is just what you said, was like the moment they show that nuclear explosion, I think we were all like, this is how it happened. This is the thing that made, even though we know that there have been connections to Black Lodge going way centuries back, but the lodges are not linear in time either. So
you see Laura Palmer's face, like in the globe, and she's back for another 40, however many years. 50, 30 years. And
I feel like that was that in that stretch that she's a metaphor. Young innocent people are going to have to pay the price, but they're going to be what puts up the fight. That's I mean, it's a little too specific to just. I just feel like that was such a universal act of evil that we have normalized for the last 60 years and blow off. And it was just like, okay, this is the point where we stopped being human beings and decided that we can just wipe out
and talk
everything.
About Fire Walk with Me. My God, I mean,
just oh wow!
Oh, geez! Right at that moment, the thunder went off. Did anyone else get a flash in their head of that scene from Fire Walk with Me with Laura with the black lipstick going, "Fire Walk with Me"?
All we need is the lights to start flickering, the generators. But the atomic, exactly. I think in the 50s. It was such a horrifying concept that this could happen. And as time passed, the younger generations were just not scared. But I think we should start getting scared with what's going on right now politically. I won't get into it, but we're on the verge of something could happen, a Holocaust of that type.
Or another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't do something that evil without any consequence.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, you know, nobody takes a karate class to not beat somebody up. You know, nobody... You know, I mean, really, you could say, oh, well, I hope I never have to use it. No, you don't. You hope some smartass says something so you can beat him up in front of your girlfriend or whatever, you know? Nobody buys a gun because they don't want to shoot somebody. Nobody takes a ballet class to sit out the recital.
I'm like, Johnny Neill draws the allegory between ballet shoes and a gun.
Well, but there is that race for ultimate power with the nuke. I mean, that's the ultimate. What was it? I was reading about that today, and the whole test, and the people describing. They had the goggles on, and the epiphany of this is the greatest thing they've ever seen, the most horrifying, and like Kali of destruction.
Yeah, what was the quote from one of the guys? Oppenheimer.
Yes.
I am Kali, God of destruction. I'm the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah. And this is it. Yeah.
Well, you know, I felt in some ways, and not to dismiss any sort of politicizing of this, David Lynch really loves 50s and 60s monster movies, which often were dealing with the monsters of the atom.
Yep.
And it also often had a lot to do with aliens. And it's an old sci-fi trope, but I felt like to some degree he was calling back on the reason that the White Lodge, which presumably what the castle by the Purple Sea is, was like, huh? was that opened up an opening to, like the Black Lodge to get through to our world. That's what that weird faceless monster puking up cream corn was. And people puking up Bob. But B, just that sort of like the moment like our planet suddenly discovered that technology, we were interesting and worth monitoring, which is literally what they're doing, monitoring us on the screen.
Yeah. And as much as David Lynch doesn't like the Wyndham Earle plot line, it actually feeds directly into that because what was Wyndham Earle's whole point in the Black Lodge is to wield the ultimate power. And the ultimate power comes from the atomic bomb. Now we know it comes from the atomic bomb. And it's very similar in like just that kind of power, again with the Fire Walk with Me and the power of that, etc. When the woodsmen are killing the people, the disc jockey, whatever, it's very similar to how Bob kills Wyndham Earle, where he's got his head like this and his fire it's like and it's very very similar motion and sound that he's making. So so it kind of taps into that whole like the desire for power, and that's what makes Bob and that's where Bob gets unleashed, and whoever the hell the woodsmen are, and I don't know what goes on there.
There's definitely a lot to unpack.
There is so much where you go. And then I don't know.
For the hardcore Twin Peaks fan, there are so many subtle things here that tie back into tiny moments from previous episodes in a way that's hard to dismiss. I mean, not just the least of which, that Gordon Cole's got the big picture of that explosion in his office.
I was like, these are not just, it's like Kafka, Metamorphosis. We've got the atomic bomb. And now the cream corn. I'm like, these are signs. These are clues. These aren't just randomly placed.
Yeah, there's nothing accidental
and then the little creature looked like part cockroach / frog.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Metamorphosis, here we go.
Hey, can we just talk about how beautifully done everything was?
Oh, that's
cool. It was even
mesmerizing.
The camera slowly coming in as the bomb is blowing up, and the lightning is flashing, and it was just stunning. And then the purple ocean, and then that castle up on top. It was like, wow.
I mean, even going into what I've been the White Lodge, I keep calling it like the Silencio. Kind of reminds me of the place from Mulholland Drive. It's like, definitely. Did you get that too? It's got the flashes and that same look. I was like,
beautiful theater.
They keep doing stuff now that at first I blew off because I was like, oh, Naomi. I thought maybe you'd make Naomi Watts her character from Mulholland Drive, and then when she was cast, and he'd finally go, these are the same thing. But now we keep seeing more stuff that makes me think maybe it is supposed adapting Mulholland Drive into it. I mean, having the weirdest part of Mulholland Drive that has like no one even everyone's like, I don't know, is the guy in the alley where everyone's like, I have no fucking clue what that has to do with anything.
I've seen that so many times, and every time my heart just jumps out of my mouth.
I call it Mr. Winky Hag.
Yeah.
But I think it's an interdimensional being.
Yeah.
That when she went into the Winkies to hand over to receive the key when she made the hit, and I think that was an ultimate moment where she kind of sold her soul.
Yeah.
And it's like the other guy sees this interdimensional creature being of the the evil that comes to feed on that. That's what I feel.
But who's identical looking and seemingly in concept as well to some degree to the woodsman.
Oh, yeah. I think they're from the same place.
It's another thing that makes me feel he's slowly grabbing Mulholland Drive and throwing it into decidedly into this mythology. By the way, that music during that sequence was I don't know how to pronounce it. Threnody to the victims of Hiroshima.
I may have listened to work on repeat today over and over again, and people like hear my headphones like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, "Nothing, just go away." I loved it. It was so cool.
Which has been in a lot of movies before this as well.
Godzilla, I think, tapped into that too.
Yeah. Okay, so also someone pointed out the whole question is, are we literally seeing the birth of Bob or was that metaphorical? Albert Rosenfield said, maybe Bob is just the evil that men do, and that was more of a symbol than something to be interpreted literally.
I think but I think it is because it was clearly his face and coming out of that.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
And then he was inside Cooper's belly, That scene just messed me up so bad. It was like I was squirming in my seat watching it. It just made me so uncomfortable just seeing them come out of the woods. For one, I'm scared of bums. I'm just going to say it. I don't want to give them money because I don't want them walking up to my car. Yeah. You know? I'm not.
I thought you said bombs. We're all scared of bombs.
Bombs, like bombs on the corner. It's like, okay, dude, I'm sorry that your life turned out that way, but don't come up to my car. But you're also kind of freaking me out a little bit. Yeah,
the guys who come up and immediately start washing your window without asking. Oh my God. I'm like, don't do that.
Don't do that.
You just made my window dirtier.
And, I lived in India.
Just be honest. Put up the sign that says, I need a beer.
I lived in India for 2 years. I put money in the fingerless paw of a leper in a wheelbarrow. I'm on the corner and a bunch of bums are with squeegees. I'm like, you're an amateur. I don't want you to come near my truck.
All right. So moving on, Laura Palmer, of course, was created by the Giant, at least in a way. All right. Yeah. So it seems like what they're saying is she was created, or her essence or whatever it is, to counter Bob. Yeah, this was always meant to be, and that it looks like Laura Palmer, which right at the beginning of this one, the Giants find Laura Palmer. Laura has a lot more to do with this season than we thought, I think her arc is not over.
Oh, yeah. She's not just a homecoming queen. Yeah. Twin Peaks. There's something, it's more of a holier spiritual energy, an innocence.
And there's the ring. I mean, because Laura had the ring. That's what kept her from Bob taking her over in the movie. And
Mike throwing the ring to her because he was going to take her over, but he forced to kill her instead of possessing her, which was I guess preferable.
Well, no, because Bob, he said, "Don't make me do this." He didn't want to kill her; he wanted to possess her. So
right.
Actually, so he was sad about that.
Right, but Bob was. That's what I'm saying. Mike gave her the ring so that.
Right.
That was the last thing they wanted to have happen. But it's interesting to speculate because then you get to the egg, which people are now and the creature came out of it, which people are split down the middle. Is that Bob or is that Laura? At least the essence, therefore, that are entering the little girl. And there's good arguments for both. A lot of people seem to say, okay, well, that's Laura Palmer's mom when she was a little girl because the ages are about right?
Yeah.
For that. But a lot of people have said as well, actually the age number is dead on for Dale. If she was impregnated at that moment, Dale was 33 years old when the show started, which is exactly the math.
Oh, so that's Dale's mom?
Oh,
just once again, speculation by fans. So
that's the kind of thing I don't want to even speculate about.
Wait for them to
because for one, I like to think that there's more than just one of those little eggs landed. That they just showed the one.
We just saw the one.
Yeah.
It's just
that there's more than one golden orb. It's just that we got Laura.
What leads me to believe is that the thing is Bob is because the creature, the woodsman, the head woodsman, number one woodsman, Abraham Lincoln Woodsman, who's sending out his message and everything, who's clearly not a good guy, opened the way for this to enter the girl at all. And I don't know if that was asleep. I don't know if that was
a trance, almost
maybe there's maybe there's another amphibian entering another mouth somewhere. I don't know, that we just didn't see. But
the incantation definitely put everyone in spell in that town.
And I'll bring back to said earlier before the show about the horse and the Sarah Palmer and her visions are always of the horse. That definitely really, because she always saw a horse when someone was about to be murdered. So that really kind of plays into that vision.
And Dale saw it too in the Red Room.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Recently,
when the curtains were all blowing in, but that okay. So once again, the quote from Abraham Lincoln Hobo: "This is the water, and this is the well. Drink full and descend." Although a lot of people are saying, I think he actually said ascend, not descend. It's unclear. The horse is the white of the eyes and the dark within. Okay, so this is a very overt reference to a white horse.
Yeah.
And the Log Lady had a poem from episode 14 of the original series that goes like this. A poem as lovely as a tree. As the night wind blows, the boughs move to and fro. The rustling, the magic rustling that brings on the dark dream. The dream of suffering and pain. Pain for the victim. Pain for the inflictor of pain. A circle of pain. A circle of suffering. Woe to the ones who behold the pale horse. Ooh, I just got the chills.
Well, and the pale, and Death Rides the Pale Horse is definitely it's an embodiment of death. And every time she sees the horse, someone dies. And when Cooper saw the horse, did anyone die? I don't think so.
We don't really know much about Margaret Log Lady's husband,
No.
but I'm assuming from what I read briefly in the book, there's no reason to believe he's bad. But he died in a fire on their wedding night. Mm-hmm. So his soul, perhaps instead of ascending, he got caught somewhere in between of the cycle of pain and suffering, because dying violently in a fire, these other woodsmen dying violently in a fire, where they're kind of stuck in forever pain and suffering. They might not be evil or good, they're just stuck.
Yeah, for all we know, these other woodsmen died in the same fire he did.
Yeah.
And they've all become servants of the Black Lodge because of that.
They need to just be lifted out. But the talking about the logs, the woodsmen above the convenience store, is they're of air that descend and ascend. I thought that was interesting, like going up in smoke. But they can't really go to the White Lodge or the Black Lodge. They're just kind of stuck between the two worlds.
Well, and they say a room above the convenience store, but it's a single-story building.
Yeah.
I mean, and it says convenience store. It doesn't say like Quickie Mart or anything. It's like, let's just let you know that's like what this place is.
The convenience store could be...
They could have renovated.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it is odd.
What if the convenience store is David Lynch's word for when you're caught in lethe or purgatory?
Yeah. I mean,
convenience store sounds cool.
I mean, even when the Log Lady refers to it, she refers to it kind of abstractly, and the convenience store with her husband, and then like other times the convenience store is mentioned, it feels a little like maybe not totally literal.
Except Mike says, "I mean it like it sounds." Like he actually even clearly says,
"That's true."
At the convenience store, I mean it like it sounds.
But he's kind of a beatnik dude too. He might be fucking with us.
You know, it's funny.
No, it doesn't.
Mike was kind of a straight shooter. I mean, I was not like kind of a straight shooter, though. I don't know. I mean,
and maybe that was old '60s expression for something else.
When my father would get mad about the world, he would say, "Convenience. That's what's going to kill everybody. All this goddamn convenience."
He might be right.
I mean, that's an old man's thing, right? Like, convenience, all these goddamn conveniences are what's going to kill everybody.
He just hated change.
Sometimes evil is created by people who... To be good, it takes extra energy, and to be bad is easier. So
it's very convenient to have a cell phone, but, it also requires a lot of slave labor. We all kind of normalize and rationalize.
Yeah, we just kind of, put blinders on it.
Plastic bottles and shit like that.
You're right.
All right, so
we don't want to see it.
A couple deep cut references I found out there, and this some goes into the secret, the book y'all are talking about, the secret, what's it called? Secret History of Twin Peaks. Occultist and rocket scientist Jack Parsons, real person, really was like a deep into the Aleister Crowley mysticism and all that, but also was one of the people who was developing the type of science that went along with the atom bomb and was arguably could have been there at White Sands. No one really knows if he was or not, because he was kind of somewhere in his career between doing this and being a crazy, Satanist mystic.
Well, and a lot of that's still secret.
He's implicitly mentioned in the Secret History of Twin Peaks as having worn the ring, as being one of the people wearing the ring. And when he actually died, which was years later, he died in an experiment in his own house with something to do with mercury blew up. They never found his right arm.
Whoa.
And there would be the smell of scorched kind of a oil, maybe scorched, kind of creepy smell.
Also, Dougie Milford, who was a character in the original series, was also there, according to the book, during the White Sands test. We haven't. I mean, he actually was looked like a character they were going to do more with in the original show. They kind of danced around stuff. Like he had the big. He had the big fight with his brother, who was the mayor of Twin Peaks, and there was a lot of like they were clear he was part of Project Blue Rose, or at least Project Blue Book was involved with all that stuff.
So it's possible that Jack Parsons was trying to summon a demonic energy by using this atomic testing.
Oh, another question there as well. We don't know when Mike and Bob were living in the convenience store, but Mike says he quit and cut his arm off that had the Firewalk With Me tattoo, which assumably is his ties to evil, when he saw the face of God. And with that being so juxtaposed with the explosion, makes me think they were close enough to see the explosion. And that was what he saw, the face of God.
I could see that being
right?
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that all pieces right together. Hard to miss that one. I was like, wow. I'm trying to, giant levitating and it reminded me of Leland Palmer in the Red Room in Firewalk With Me, of course. That was a very similar sequence with him just kind of floating in the air for no apparent reason.
He's in there's the one scene where he's still stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, apparently you got to stay there for a while after you spit out Laura Palmer. It's a thing.
At least 25 years.
It takes a couple hours to come down. Weirdest musical moment in the whole show is actually introducing the band. Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, the Nine Inch Nails.
That's so awesome.
Which, a great song. Already knew the song, but I hadn't really thought about how the lyrics would be pertinent. The song was She's Gone Away. There's a great line in there. I can't remember what she came here for. I can't remember much of anything anymore. Proving that, once again, nothing is accidental in David Lynch world, you know.
And then he'd do a Tarzan yell. That was really cool.
That was crazy.
That was great.
That's a really good performance, to be sure.
By the way, I have downloaded an album off iTunes of every band that has been on the show.
I believe it.
I ordered the 45 by the band.
I'm a mega fan.
And they're releasing on vinyl. They're releasing on vinyl.
Yeah, and I pre-ordered all that.
So excited about that.
But I got that single from the Trouble that they did with David Lynch's son on guitar.
I was like, oh, this is so good.
And I got notice that it was shipped today.
Oh,
so.
Nice.
But I thought the song "Prayer" by the Platters was so beautiful. I was like, oh,
so
this
well
song's
timed.
so dreamy. And with the violence, hyper violence happening, I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful.
And I pointed out to her earlier, this is a deep cut trivia bit.
Yes.
One of the members of the Platters' name was David Lynch.
I love that.
Isn't that crazy?
Awesome.
Yeah, he was one of they had a lot of members come and go, but he was one of the longer lasting vocalists for them. One who's been there for a long time. I was like, that's just so funny. Another doesn't mean anything except David Lynch probably thought it was hysterical.
What does it mean? His doppelganger.
Maybe David Lynch, the director, becomes a character in Twin Peaks. I'd see him totally do that.
And the white guy that ripped them off of all of their royalties was named Gamboja.
That's the name of most record labels.
It's Italian. Don't worry about it.
No, I bought you a Cadillac.
You know, one thing I keep thinking is so fascinating about this whole show is the way he is making some of the most important, the third man characters of the show that are constantly being referenced, albeit sometimes without you even realizing they're doing it till you really think about it, are the people who are actors who are dead, be it Bob or what's his name, the General, Major Briggs, or Philip Jeffries. Here again in this 8th episode, Ray literally has a phone call with David Bowie's character, making me start to wonder if maybe they did get some footage with Bowie before he died.
Maybe a phone call.
Maybe a phone call.
Recording that pretty easy.
Well, they sure did with the
log lady and the doctor.
That was a phone call.
Yeah.
And Albert.
Yeah,
you know, I love Seinfeld and I love Twin Peaks, and I never made that connection that Doc Horn. No, not Horn. Doc
Hayward.
The Doc Hayward was Susan's father.
Oh yeah.
And then her mother was Grace Zabriskie. I made that connection, but I never made that connection that it was the same guy.
I'm trying to think if I have anything else to add here. Yeah, a lot of speculation about what Dido might mean. I don't think that anybody's come up with anything. It was the first queen of Carthage was named Dido, but that'd be a pretty deep cut.
To start singing.
Yeah, she
I
was
know,
like
right?
I thought she was about to
lounge
break
singer.
it didn't happen.
I love how lounge singers are prominent in David Lynch films. They're usually troubled women or mouthy women, but also saint-like at the same time.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the juxtaposition.
Well, because you're kind of a lounge singer yourself.
Yes, I do. But I love it.
You saint you.
But it's like Diane, Laura Dern, when she was in Blue Velvet, was the innocent, and they were trying to save Dorothy Valens, and she was the troubled yet beautiful lounge singer. And now she's older, and she's the mouthy, looks like a lounge singer. It's interesting how the innocence becomes a little less innocent but tough cookie.
With the darkness that is always right underneath any.
Yeah.
I was weirdly, it was right after I watched Twin Peaks, I watched the pilot of The Mist, the new TV series, and there's a line there where it's like the guy's like, this place is beautiful though, and the woman looks down her leg and there's a millipede crawling up it and she flicks it off. She's like, not if you look too closely. And I was like, that was so David Lynch. Oh wait, this is something else.
That's good.
I kind of wish people would make some Twilight Zone connections. There's so much Rod Serling going on here, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like too,
There's a very melancholy approach to the notion that we cracked the code to blow up the world, you know? And Rod Serling was a World War II veteran who had seen everything. There were so many World War II episodes of the Twilight Zone where it's just, you know, this is all futile.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't think there'd be a Twin Peaks if there wasn't a Twilight Zone.
Right.
Without a doubt. It's definitely, this leads to that. Yeah.
But last night, all that black and white just really...
That was
And I know you said,
beautiful.
like, the monster movies of the 50s, but it did just feel much more Twilight Zone to me than a...
Which as well was very, had those same influences.
Sure. But I don't know, there was something about
it was so gorgeous. It was very Kubrickian, I thought, as well.
Well, especially it's like the ending of 2001. It was very much like going to the Mushroom Cloud, and that was very... But it made me want to watch it. It made me want to watch Eraserhead so very badly. I haven't watched it in years. I'm like, I should probably just watch it.
Yeah, it seems to be that's the number one thing people kept saying. I need to go back and rewatch Eraserhead.
And it's short films, which I've never really seen, so I need to watch
it.
All of it,
I need to see
they're
those.
pretty crazy.
He's just going for it.
But not sure I'm going to sit through Inland Empire again.
I loved Inland Empire.
Oh, you're the guy.
I did. I loved it. I loved it. To me, that movie was about...
I love, but as a total, I don't love it as much as the others. But compared to other movies, I love it.
To me, it was about what does an artist owe their medium? What is if you play a character, what do you owe that character? If you make a movie, what do you owe the characters in that movie? That was what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
There was a real sense of what is the balance between art and life, and what do each other owe each other. And I know it was very long and it was very rambly, and yet it's still just I was like.
But we just watched an hour of
the young Russian girls and some were dead. That I love that scene.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to watch it because we just watched an hour. It was basically an atomic bomb, people living on a lighthouse over the ocean and whatever. I'm like, that was fine. That could have been longer.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but that being said, we had a narrative context to interpret all the imagery we were seeing there, whereas in Inland Empire, we really don't. It's just crazy.
I felt like I was getting it right from the beginning.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really did.
Your mind is one that I marvel at on a regular basis. Because I don't understand anything.
That's what I took from the beginning of it was like, oh, her character is haunting her. And her character is fictional, but it's haunting her. And, you know, maybe that's just my reading of it.
It's been too long since I've seen it.
Theater superstition. Like, don't get too wrapped up in your character because you won't be able to tell yourself from reality, especially if you play a villain or a psychopath or something. It starts to take you over and you might go crazy. And I've had people, warn me about this, and I'm like, this is insane. And then you start to see something, weird superstitious omens, and it gets kind of spooky.
Well, guys, we're at about an hour here, so
we're just getting started.
If you want to have anything, if you want to add anything about these last two episodes, please go ahead and do it now, by all means.
Well, like I was saying before, I mean, I think what's really, it sounds cheesy and pretentious, whatever. How lucky we get to watch this. I mean, this is happening.
True.
Like, I always want, when I watch a movie or hear a song, and they're about to always go to that place, they don't quite get there, and you want them to, and they back off. No, he just went there and he stays there. And, and he's like, I'm not leaving. I don't care. I'm going to do this. We never get that. There's no interference. There's no, I had this argument today, there's really no seeming corporate interference. There's no one telling him you can't do this.
It just feels that way, yeah.
He's just doing what he wants, and you like it or you don't. And he doesn't really care. People who like it, he's making it for them. And luckily, we're those people. And that's just how lucky we are to have that.
People forget that not everything is supposed to be for everyone. That's the problem with most blockbuster films, is they try so hard to make them for everybody, you end up with a banal piece of shit.
The corporation is looking at profit, and it's like art shouldn't be viewed that way. It's like, let the artist have some free reign, and what amazing art are we missing out on? Yeah. It's on the cutting room floor because it wasn't okayed by some CEO or the cowboy or some freaky dude in a booth.
The last thing is true.
Or Frank Booth.
And I love this. And I have weird hope. I would be okay if this is it. If they get to 18 episodes, they get to the end, and that's it.
I mean, we're lucky just to have it.
Yeah. Right. Because honestly, so many people have died. It's just like, I mean, he just wants to tell the story, and that, he said it's his last thing. Although he's kind of walked that back a little bit.
I kind of hope so.
I kind of feel like it. You know what? At the same time, make your final statement. Do what you need to do. Don't always. It doesn't have to be forever. It doesn't have to be 10 seasons. Keep going and going and going. Have a definitive beginning, middle, and ending, and you're finished, and that's awesome. And it's there forever, and we're getting that. And I'm babbling, but that's
I mean, you're right though. If this is it, I think I'll just always be glad that we had it. I feel so lucky now that we're getting this, and it's as unexpected in the way that it's being executed and as great as it is. Yes. I mean, honestly, I never could have predicted the way this show is playing out and what they're choosing to do with it, and I think it's kind of a miracle.
And there have been no spoilers. There's been nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very clear that David Lynch is a very sweet humanist who is concerned with the direction that the planet is going. Like, people could say, he makes all these violent movies.
He tells you the weather every day.
And all that.
On his website.
He does?
He reads out the weather every day on his members-only website.
He used to do that on a radio station in L.A. where every morning he would come over, today it's going to be a beautiful sunny, and he would record them in advance, so he would very often be wrong, and it was amazing.
It's hysterical. All right, so we're going to go out here with another song from Betty's group, Betty X. So I'll add it after the editing, so I couldn't tell you which song it's going to be yet, but it'll say on the page. And, of course, you can buy that record where?
For sale on Bandcamp. Or you can just go to the website, bettyx.com.
There you go. And following that will be, presuming I actually get it done by tomorrow, a interview with one of the actors who played one of the woodsmen in episode 8, Christian Calloway, who contacted me and was like, I'll do this. It sounds like fun.
Awesome.
How did he contact you?
Facebook.
Did he just walk through your door?
I found me posting on a Twin Peaks group and commented, hey, I was in that. You want to talk?
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Got any friends? Okay, as promised, here is the guy I was talking about having an interview with, Christian Calloway, an actor who portrayed one of the woodsmen in episode 8 of Twin Peaks, which I know we're all still having nightmares about having watched, because it was super scary. I get the feeling that may have even been a little scary for you.
Oh, it was wonderfully scary, because if you I mean, you all know Lynch. You know how he creates these wonderful things. He doesn't tell us what he's doing. So he just tells us what he wants done. We do that. So to see on screen what he had in his vision, oh, it was frightening. Just what an incredibly frightening scene that was. And it was just a lot of fun to be part of.
So how long did it take to actually shoot that? And was this one of the secret things that I hear he was doing without trying to keep other people not knowing about?
Well, yes, this is definitely one of the secrets they kept. They kept us under pretty much guard from the paparazzi, that they couldn't see us and whatnot. And we couldn't speak to anybody, not even our friends and family, about what we had went through. So it was secretive in that way. And then as far as how long it took to shoot, it's just typical Hollywood. It's amazing how long it takes to shoot anything. I believe that scene was probably 8 hours of our day was just to shoot that one scene that you saw with Coop on the ground and us around his body.
So what kind of stage directions did Lynch give you?
He's absolutely amazing, to tell you the truth. He personifies whatever character he wants you to portray, and then he shows you. So with me, my name being Christian, he immediately changed it to Chris John. So David Lynch can change my name to Chris John anytime he wants, but he just came over to me and he says, okay, Chris John, what I want you to do is I want you to bend down like this, right here at the knees. Do you see that? See how my knees are bent, Chris John? Okay, now put your hands out in front. Okay, just like that. Now, cycle your knee forward and your arm forward, like this. Watch me, Chris John. Come on, let's go for a little bit of a walk, just like this. Step forward this way and then this way, this way. Very good, Chris John. Now let's go on around here by craft services a little bit. There you go. No, keep your head up, but keep your head down at the same time, like this, Chris John. Watch me how I do this. There you go. Yes, just like that. Now let's go around and around and around. There you go. Keep that look on your face. Keep your eyes open. Keep looking forward. Rotate them arms. There you go, Christian. There you go. All right, let's get ready to roll this. And then they go off into the shot. So it was just absolutely amazing.
That's super hands-on.
Very hands-on. And the whole time I'm sure he thought that I was listening to him. But the whole time I'm thinking, oh, my God, that's David Lynch, and he's telling me what to do. Oh, I should be paying attention. Oh, my gosh, David Lynch. And, but I'm cool, calm, and collected on the outside. It looks like I was totally paying attention, but, I was freaking out.
I would have been, that's for sure. Like, I don't know how you were able to listen to him without, just like I said, like you were saying, just looking at him and going, that's David Lynch.
Yeah, absolutely. And he makes you his friend right off the bat. He just takes you into his family, and he talks to you like he's known you forever. And when you walk by, he doesn't just keep his glance headed straight forward. You walk by, he'll look at you, and he'll acknowledge you passing. And that's from the point he meets you all the way till the end of the shoot, he has become your friend.
I've always heard that he was a very warm person and very easy to work with, which may be different than I think the perception of his work shows people. They kind of picture this tortured genius or something, and he probably is a tortured genius, but just not an asshole about it like some folks are. So with your experience with this, first off, have you been watching the show too?
I had watched it casually before, and I remembered enjoying it 25 years ago, but I was young or younger. It wasn't my main thing in my life, but I did know that it was a very iconic television. So it was interesting to be called up to ask to audition for it, and to know that it was David Lynch. It was just a very surreal experience. And then it was at that point that I began watching it again on Netflix and going, oh, wow, I hope he chooses me. I really want to be part of this.
How was your experience watching the episode after having been in it? Was there I assume that, with all the heavy editing, what he's doing, you're kind of like ghosts, you're flickering in and out. That was not something you were told was going to happen when you were filming it, I presume.
No, we were not told that whatsoever. We're told basically nothing. Like I say, he just will ask us, just drop down to your knees and grab the dirt. Now really start wringing that dirt around in your hands. Come on, ring it around. There you go. Now fling some dirt up in the air. There you go. And I see that now when I'm watching, and you could actually see our hands digging in the dirt at first. and then Coop's body starts to appear. Well, he had to shoot that both ways, once with their hands in the dirt and then once with their hands on Coop. So it made me think, I wonder if we're actually forming Coop out of the dirt, and that just by adding blood to the dirt and rubbing it around that we slowly start forming this body. And he had the lightning going all the time during the shoot. That's not special effects that was added afterwards. He actually had that there. So I knew something strange was going to be going on at that time. But as it turns out, no, we were not forming his body. His body just happened to appear under our hands, which is a little odd because there's no body there during some portions of the lightning strikes. That other times he is there if you look at it very carefully. And we did shoot it both ways, but in both times not having any idea what we were doing. No idea whatsoever what we were doing.
What was it? Did you have any sort of positive or remarkable moments working with Kyle MacLachlan in this sequence?
On this sequence is going to be the key word here.
Oh.
No.
So I presume you will be in another episode then.
Beautiful weather. Wonderful weather outside. It's like in the 100s, you know.
Okay, fair enough. I know you can't talk about that. They had to get you guys to sign a pretty strict non-disclosure, I would imagine, because one of the things I love about this show, A, that it's episodic. Thank God they didn't go to Netflix, because this would not have been the same experience watching it in a straight-through situation. And two, how they've kept absolute secrecy on this thing blows my mind.
Well, you know, I can tell you exactly what it is. It's respect. I've worked for a lot of directors who have asked me to be quiet, and I'll be quiet just because that's my job, and then other people won't be quiet during that period of time, and you know, the director gets mad, that's no big deal, we get around that. David Lynch asked us to be quiet, so okay, we're going to be quiet. And he came out one time before they were shooting, and he just asked the general public, and he asked the press and anybody involved, please, let's just let the fans enjoy this, so please, no spoilers, don't try to take pictures, and just everybody keep their mouths quiet, let's let everybody see this all at the same time. And the response from the press and the reporters and everything was phenomenal. Everybody shut up. And it's out of respect. It's just a deep respect for who he is. And I think that's why it was so easy to keep this a secret, is because we all love him. And we wouldn't do anything to upset him.
Yeah, please don't, because he's a national treasure as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what was really funny is the first time I met him, I was already in makeup, and I came out of the makeup trailer, and he pulled up in a sedan, just a nondescript sedan, and he got out, and I was trying to think of what David Lynch looked like, and I wasn't real sure, but out comes this old guy wearing a baseball cap, and he looked at me, and I'm looking at him, and we're about 30 feet apart from each other, and he gives me this great big thumbs up, and I give him back this great big thumbs up, and I sat there and went, oh my gosh, that's David Lynch. You could tell because of the thumbs up. That is so much who he is.
You just want him to shout at you, Agent Calloway, good to see you.
That's what you want. Very, very loud. Yes.
So before we finish up, I just want, you've been acting for a long time. You have a sizable list of credits on IMDb that I was looking up here. Is there anything that you would say in particular you're super proud of that you would love people to check you out in?
Oh, that's such a good question. At this point, it's definitely Twin Peaks. I would like for people to continue to watch and see what other things we may have coming. What I have in the future is just that there's a lot of good sitcoms coming up on Fox. There's one called Ghosted. You can see me on Ghosted that'll be coming up soon. I did some Angie Tribeca, some other stuff on HBO for Whitney Cummings. As far as anything spectacular, I would just say Google Christian Calloway in videos and just take a look at some of my dance videos. I've done some dance videos. I have a video called Superhero Flipside, which was produced by Oprah, actually. So that might be something to take a look at, a Superhero Flipside. And that explains something that I do in my free time, which, just to spill the beans, is I hold a sign that says, want to talk, I'll listen. And I go out and I sit on street corners as a homeless man and invite people to come talk to me. And so it's just the most amazing thing to sit there and talk to complete strangers about what's going on in their day, what their troubles are, and or maybe just hold the hand of a person who's this is their first night going to be homeless, or something like that. Just being there for people. It's my way of giving back. And Superhero Flipside is one of those episodes that kind of shows that side of my life.
That's super neat, man. I know you do a lot of stuff with charity in general, and as well, like you kind of have a thing where you sell yourself as like homeless man / biker / dangerous guy for hire, which are obviously just as sweet as can be. Sweet as a slice of cherry pie, as we should say on a Twin Peaks podcast. But you play these scary guys. You were even Fast and Furious as a prisoner, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But have they, because this made me think of it talking to you, I know they got to be doing calls soon for that Sons of Anarchy spinoff show. I was wondering if that was something you'd gone out for.
Well, I tried to go out for that, but as that turns out, that's going to mostly be about Hispanic gangs.
Okay.
And I don't have the right look for that. And truthfully, as far as bikers go, nothing against bikers. I just don't like to portray a biker.
Okay.
I just think that I don't really know why. It's just something inside of me. I don't enjoy getting dressed up like that. I don't enjoy what they ask me to do. My big claim to fame is and a lot of actors say I did the wrong thing here, but is portraying homeless men and that's all I promote myself as. So when I meet a casting director, I say, well, all I do is homeless men. And a casting director smart enough to see I can do a pirate. As a matter of fact, there's a national commercial. I can't mention the name of it yet. But there's a national commercial I just did where I play the captain of a pirate ship. Casting directors can see me as a cowboy or anything else, but I only promote myself as a homeless man because 2 or 3 years down the road when they need a homeless guy, they go, Christian Calloway, that's all he does is homeless. But if I told them I did all these other characters, 5 years down the road, they're not going to remember who I was.
Right.
So it's been a marketing tool of mine that has given me all those credits that you see. I'm listed as one of the top 10 homeless character actors. I'm even listed above Robin Williams and Nick Nolte as being a top homeless character actor. That's also listed there at IMDb. You can see it on my page.
Wow, okay. That's pretty neat. I didn't even know there was anything like that. It's funny because the guy who kind of played the primary woodsman in that same episode does the same thing for Abraham Lincoln in his career. That's like he's got a whole want someone to play Abraham Lincoln? That's me! like webpage, which I think is hysterical.
What's really funny is I have a secret story I could tell you, but I could not tell your listeners.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll end this interview on recording, and then you can tell me the truth.
I think you'd be very intrigued to hear this about our friend Robert Broski, who plays that main woodsman, and just how that all came about to be. It's a fascinating personal story that I can personally tell you.
But I won't tell them. I'll hit stop on the record, I promise, and then you can tell me.
Sure, if it became a theory of yours, that would be fine.
If what now?
If it became a theory of yours, that would be fine.
I might work that into there somewhere there. All right, so as far as the recording goes, thank you, Christian, so much for talking to us. That's Christian Calloway. If you're looking for actors to play homeless men, pirates, or what have you, just not bikers, he's your man.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.